Hello, we here at FOSS-ID would like to discuss AI-driven code generation with you. Let's start with GitHub Copilot. Copilot has received criticism for using copyrighted code without permission or attribution, as it was highlighted here by computer science professor Tim Davis, who provided an example on Twitter of Copilot using his code without complying with the LGPL license. This and multiple other infringements led to a lawsuit in which Microsoft, GitHub, and OpenAI are all being sued for allegedly violating copyright law. Now, let's do our first test. Going forward, let us show you a clear example. On the very first page of GitHub Copilot, we have this piece of code that can be used to determine whether the sentiment of a text is positive while using a web service. We have taken this code as a snippet and scanned it using our workbench. Okay, so let's start scanning the snippet. What we need to do is paste that particular snippet here and click on Go. As you can see, FOSS-ID has analyzed this snippet and provided us with the following matches. And if we click on this first one, we can see that highlighted in yellow is our particular snippet of code that is from a larger file. The file name is sentiment API 4 simple, and it is on this particular GitHub repository here. Now, the Copilot team are aware of this, and they have created a filter that can, and I quote, help detect and suppress GitHub Copilot suggestions which contain code that matches public code on GitHub. So if we go on GitHub Copilot website, under settings, we have this option here. If we select block, this should enable Copilot to filter publicly available code in GitHub. But how about code outside of GitHub? Now let's do a second test, this time with a bit more elaborated code sample. Okay, so for this second test, we have asked GitHub Copilot to create a clone of the YouTube's video player using the YouTube API. And it has synthesized here 8 solutions, and I have checked and selected solution 7 because 7 is a lucky number. Okay, so you can see I have copied the code for solution 7, and let's paste it in our workbench. As you can see, this is the code that was provided on solution 7 by GitHub Copilot. Click on Go, and this is the match that was provided after the analysis. So Workbench identified this particular code from this file, YouTube lnit.js, on this particular repository on GitHub. So does this happen only with GitHub Copilot, or is it a problem with AI generated code in general? Let's take a look at ChatGPT and do another test. So we have asked ChatGPT to create some code for a clone of YouTube's video player in JavaScript using YouTube API. And the results given here were not much different from the ones that we received from Copilot. So we can see that some of the functions here are the same from the ones that we received from Copilot. So that means that we would basically have the same problem with this solution as well. After doing these tests, we here at FOSS-ID have come up with the following conclusions. It is difficult to prevent AI tools from using open source code. As we have seen while using both Copilot and ChatGPT, we will have the same issue, and this is the issue that led to the first lawsuit in US history challenging the training and output of AI systems. The outcome of this lawsuit could have a significant impact on the field of artificial intelligence. While AI-driven code generation has benefits, it also requires regulation. Technological innovations often outpace regulation, as we've seen with Napster and Pirate Bay in the early 2000s. Thanks to them, today we have legal alternatives like Spotify and Netflix. Vulnerability detection in AI-generated snippets. For this issue, FOSS-ID introduces the Vulnerability Snippet Finder tool. With this tool, we take open source vulnerability detection to new levels. It detects and identifies the actual lines of code that introduce vulnerabilities in open source proprietary code. It eliminates false positives and common human errors. It also identifies exact matches inside open source components and proprietary code. Now, this was all from us. On behalf of everyone at FOSS-ID, I wish you a great day.